I'm Brandy Taylor, and this is my husband.
My name is James Taylor. We've been married for 29 years, a little over 29 years.
We met in high school and got together about 2 years after we finished school, probably. A year for me, 2 years for him. My friend was dating him and we met, and we became very, very good friends first. And then it just kind of led to something more.
So,
We were both afraid of ruining our friendship with a relationship. So we both hesitated on saying, but I said it first.
yes, she did. So, well, okay, she was dating somebody anyway, so I waited for her to get home just because I wanted to see her before I actually left. As soon as she got there, she looked at me and pretty much told her date, "You can leave now." And then took me outside and told me that she loved me and that she wanted me to come back to Texas. So I moved back, and
We were married 2 months later. We like to have fun, and we found out early on that we couldn't have children, so our life became about having fun, especially after we found out the eventuality of our life was going to be dialysis. So we bought campers and had fun and went fishing and went camping and had boats and kayaked and hiked, and very outdoor people. Started our farming adventures until the last few years, whenever the sickness took hold. But that's not who we are, and that's not our life. That doesn't define who we are, the sickness. We live life still to the fullest despite that. I think you had just turned 25, and he went to his first kidney specialist, and they scheduled a kidney biopsy due to his lab work that had been done by the family doctor. So they went and scheduled his biopsy, and he came back having chronic membranous glomerular nephritis. We were able to keep it pretty much at bay until they decided to treat him with a harsh drug that they didn't monitor very closely, and it caused the kidneys to further fail, just due to the levels being so high, which kind of started the downhill slide into end-stage renal disease and leading up to dialysis. They found a 7-centimeter tumor on his left kidney. So we had already had the discussion with our regular nephrologist what our dialysis plan was, because we knew it was going to be coming within the next year. He was probably only at about 30% kidney function with both kidneys and with the tumor. So when we found out about the tumor, we opted to do a radical nephrectomy because there was no point in leaving a partial failing kidney in with the possibility of leaving cancer in. So we opted to have a full open surgery and remove it. So the day before his surgery, they went ahead and placed a temporary dialysis catheter in his chest, with the anticipation of him having to have dialysis immediately following surgery, which he did. So they had to pull me back into recovery while he was still in surgery to sign dialysis consents, because they took him straight from the OR into the dialysis room in recovery, and he had his first treatment while he was still under anesthesia, and I was there. So and that was where it started. So our plan that we had made with our doctor was to do peritoneal dialysis. We just felt like it was going to be easier for us to maintain. I was actually scared of doing any sort of hemodialysis at home, even though that was an option. It scared me to do that kind of thing at home because I didn't know a whole lot about it. So we opted for peritoneal dialysis at home because we felt like it was going to be a safer, easier option for us. He did peritoneal dialysis from 2017 to 2019, and then it failed. And I had already promised him that if peritoneal didn't work, that I would train to do home hemodialysis. I'm a needle girl. I'm a phlebotomist by trade, so putting needles in is what I always did. So I was very, very happy whenever he got his WavelinQ that way, so I could do it. So my background is that I worked in a laboratory setting for almost 25 years. and it was mainly phlebotomy and team leading, and stuck around 700 or 800 patients a month doing that. So needles were what I did and how I did my job. I guess it goes to show that God knows what he's doing when he puts two people together and leads the path that they go down.
By the time we started discussing me actually getting a surgical fistula again, we found out about a product called WavelinQ.
Once we were told that there was a non-surgical option because he was tired, he had been in and out of the hospital, multiple surgeries for recurrent cancer. He had finished radiation treatments. He was tired of hospitals. He was surgically tired. He was hospital tired. We'd both kind of had enough. And I worked at a hospital too. So I was working while he was in the hospital that I worked at. So it was very tiring on both of us mentally, physically.
She actually would go to work and basically come to me and never leave work.
So James came to me back in 2019. He and his wife Brandy came. They actually were referred by their nephrologist. I think they had heard about the WavelinQ procedure already as far as an option for them. The thing that fascinated me is that, you know, they had already done PD. They were already familiar with home modalities, and Brandy was always very responsible for being involved in his care. And they really wanted an option that they thought was going to be good for them. They drove 100+ miles to get to me just to get screened, right? And I didn't realize this the first day. I knew they were from the Fort Worth side of town. I didn't realize how much farther Fort Worth was from home for them. And so it wasn't until the day of the procedure that they said, you know, yeah, we're coming, you know, or when I got wind that there was a little traffic outside of Waco. I'm like, outside of Waco? Why are we talking outside of Waco? And that's when I realized how far they were. But that's the kind of, you know, the distance they were willing to travel to really get something that they were searching for in terms of the WavelinQ.
When we went to go see the creating doctor, they did vessel mapping, and he actually vessel mapped for a lower arm fistula, which they always give us that option first for a surgical forearm fistula, and he said no, just because of everything that he had already been through.
He was a candidate for an upper arm fistula, but they really wanted the endo option. And I think there's multiple reasons involved, and especially some younger patients, right? They're not my 90-year-old patients, my 80-year-old patients. They're young, they're healthy, they're practically my age. For them, going through all the advantages of an endo, where cosmetically it's better, where the procedurally it's easier to tolerate, I think all of those factors kind of played in. So when we told them that, yeah, you know, he is an option for an EndoAVF, he was all in. He said, let's do it. Very nice WavelinQ from the radial side. He matured very quickly. But Brandy, having her cannulation skills as a phlebotomist, she was ready. She was like, Dr. Mullen, can I stick it? Can I stick it? Can I stick it? You know, and if you know Brandy, you know the kind of personality. She's like, I'm ready to go. So
I've been the only one to ever access his fistula. They did it. They brought me in just to show me the needles and things like that, which it wasn't. It was just their protocol to bring you in for your first treatment. And they didn't even do a full treatment on him. They did like an hour and a half, and then they sent me home with instructions, and I figured it out from there. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to listen to his vessel for the bruit, which is the rush of the blood going up the vessel, the arterial flow. So I'm going to listen through the stethoscope. So I start in the upper part of the cannulation zone, and I hear it very faintly up there. Sounds kind of like a washing machine. And the further down I go, the louder it gets. The closer I get to the anastomosis, which is right there.
I think the nice thing about Brandy and James is that they're a single unit, right? I mean, James is, on chart, he's my patient, but they come as a unit, and then I talk to both of them, and we take care of, you know, I take care of both of them. They're a dynamic duo in ability to work together and take care of themselves, and how involved she is in her patient care. And I think that makes it so much better for him, knowing that it's not a stranger at a facility and it's not completely on him, that they're working together to take care of his dialysis needs.
I'm a lot more comfortable with where I am now. Number one, having the WavelinQ, I can even go swimming if I want to. Where when you have a catheter in your chest, you can't go swimming. You can't do a lot of
You can't
high
even shower
impact,
by
yeah.
yourself.
This fistula has done very well for them, and allowing them, the whole experience, right? The not having to go through surgery, the not having to deal with the scar, the cosmetic components of it. But not only that, the ability to cannulate it so easily, especially for someone like her, has been, I think, a blessing for everyone.
I think one of the most important messages that we like to get across is be sure that you have a doctor that lays out all the options for you. That way, so you can make an informed decision about your health care and your treatment.
research your options he's given you before you just jump into anything. Know your plan before you get to it, because I've known my plan since they put my first catheter in my chest. I've known that I wanted to get my catheter out of my chest, but I was putting it off because I didn't want to have a surgical fistula. Now you have options. To me, WavelinQ has been a godsend for me not having to have one more surgery in my life. Getting away from that surgery, getting away from that hospital situation was excellent. With the WavelinQ, it was done as a procedure in my doctor's office. I personally had no pain whatsoever in it, so that's a big factor too. I'm 2 years in, and as you can see, I do not have any raised part of my arm where my fistula is and my buttonholes. Just for appearances, to not have that knotting on your arm and people go, oh, what's wrong with him? Why is his arm deformed like that? Or stuff like that, you don't have to answer those questions.
Basically, when we're not doing dialysis, we don't think about it.
Exactly.
We live our life.
Go ahead.
Wish chickens.
She wanted chickens. And this place was a cow pasture when we bought it. We have almost 9 acres. We have our chickens.
And I have my coop that we moved.
Yeah. I actually loaded that coop up on a trailer and brung it here.
And since then, we've put in a big vegetable garden and a greenhouse, and we preserve our own food and live the life that we've always wanted to live.